All right, salama, peace, and blessings. Thank y'all for joining in. This is Generational Impact for Yeshua. I'm Chuka. Today I'm going to be talking about um, the law of accountability, which is all part of, I believe, the law of humility. Humility. Um, you know, Part of your growth, personal development. To personal develop is taking time to reflect on self. What is your communication, that you're having within yourself, and the communication you're having with others, relationship with others, and taking accountability. Sometimes I do that. Just to see where I am at the moment, in order to be able to go forward and grow for the future, towards the future. Right. I have to take a look at within, see certain things I need to improve on. Whether it's my interaction with my spouse, interaction with others, interaction with my children. How am I being? Am I being a good example towards them? Am I being a good example towards my wife? You know, how am I carrying myself as a leader of my home? Um, I think that's very, very important. To take the time to reflect, keep ourselves accountable. Um, and anytime I've fallen short or any mistakes, um, am I humble enough? Ask myself, am I, you know, quick to walk towards humility, or just stand on pride? Like, nah, I'm not, I'm not apologizing. You know, and that's part of, maturing. Part of growing. That we did take the time to reflect if it's something that I've done wrong or I've done anybody wrong, to be able to um, acknowledge that in the first place, um, and be willing to let the person know you're wrong, or apologize. And that's part of your or our own health. I believe that's a law by itself. Um, there's so many laws within humility. Forgiveness. Why the Most High constantly encourage us to forgive. Um, and vice versa, to acknowledge when we're wrong in order to be forgiven, right? And sometimes the person, you can't control how other people, you know, react if they're willing to forgive once you're done them wrong, or you made a mistake, and you acknowledge that towards them. That's on them. But it's for us. It's up to us to stay humble and to reflect on that and keep ourselves accountable, and be able to um, acknowledge, where we need improvement on, or when we're wrong. And that's part of growth. That's part of maturity. That's part of personal development, to move to that next level, right? To stay humble. And as I was reading my devotion today, a lot of times I try to stay in order, chapter by chapter when I read the great book, the scriptures, commonly known as the Bible, where I believe a lot of personal development books, a lot of the ideas come from. The think, whether it's thinking or personal development. So yeah, I turned to Ezekiel 28. It's talking about one of the kings of, I believe it's Tyre, right? And he pretty much was just full of so much pride, and to the point where the prophet, the spirit speaking through the prophet Ezekiel, um, was speaking to this king who was full of so much pride, and he was big, he was very successful, and big on trade, and and merchant, sea merchant. He had different businesses, right? But he was just full of so much pride that he felt like he was like God, and it reminded him of the spirit that was operating through him. The Most High through Ezekiel was speaking to that spirit of pride. I believe that's a law by itself, and because of pride, the law of humility and the law of pride has their own consequences. Humility always lifts you up. It's always going to bless you. Proverbs talks about that. how you know he lifts up the humble and he brings down the pride. And because pride always reminds him of Lucifer, who was once, it was talked about in Ezekiel 28. He was an anointed cherub, anointed angel, um, in charge to lead the angels to create a culture in the kingdom of heaven for this, the angels to worship the Most High, and just pretty much to give glory to the Most High, right? And he was one of the most beautiful angel, as described in Ezekiel 28, 13 all the way to 19. How he was not only anointed, which is given power, but all these beautiful minerals that we see today, whether it's gold or diamond, topaz, turquoise, all these beautiful colors. Um, and he was, the musical instrument, timbrels, was made for him to lead. He was also a leader of worship, musical, um, creating a musical atmosphere for the angels to worship the Most High until what iniquity, which was lawlessness, which was bent way, crooked way, was found in him, right? So he was no longer humble anymore, right? He was full of pride, and that pride, he wanted to be the Most High, and yeah, so that he deceived 1/3 of the angels to go fight against the Most High. And what happened? The Most High used Angel Michael and other angels to fight against him and kick them out, and he landed here on Earth. And that same pride is still operating today. He's still deceiving behind the scenes, cooperating with the flesh of mankind. Where the flesh is that part of all of us. When Adam ate of that tree of knowledge of evil, sin came to the world, and it's that disobedient way of us that we adopted from Adam. So that's why we needed the Messiah, Jesus Christ, to come, and he gives us the Holy Spirit. Those who welcome him, it's because his laws, everything operated in his laws. And I believe the law of belief, once we believe in him as a child and believe in him in his kingdom, we welcome his Holy Spirit. His Spirit helps us to stay humble and not walk, and also make us reflect and let us know when we are operating in that pride, that reminder of that king of Tyre, right? That was operating in the spirit of Lucifer, of so much pride, because pride goes before the destruction. I'm saying it wrong. It's a haughty spirit. It goes with it pretty much makes you be haughty, and it leads towards destruction. Um, and that's what it is. So it makes you pumped up. So we have to stay humble and be able to reflect on ourselves and keep ourselves accountable, and then just see how we continue to improve in our own personal self. He said, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." You gotta love yourself. Learn how to improve ourselves. Um, so yes, that Lucifer was, he was tossed out, and he's a mandated date when he's gonna be destroyed, right? And he's deceiving a huge amount of people to go with him in hell, and ultimately to the lake of fire, which is already destined for him. That's mentioned in Revelation. So our job is to continue to stay humble, continue to grow, continue to strive in growth, and the Almighty gives us the desire to continue to grow in Him. So yeah, so continue to grow, continue to